I've got my worksheet and I have my drawing finished. So I did a fox, and you can tell that my fox looks a little different than the one that I practiced. So as you work, your fox might kind of look a little bit different, but I've drawn my fox really big on my paper, so it's filled up most of the space. This handout is to help us work on doing lines to show texture on our spring animals. So you're going to come up with 5 different line styles. So I've got a marker here that I'm going to be using to add lines on. So this first one, I might do something really simple where I have my lines pretty close together. So I'm just going to practice doing those all the way down this section. This next one, I might do lines closer together, but on a diagonal, so they'll make a different texture look. This next one, I might have the lines really super close together. So as I go down through there, you would finish this. Now, I'm not going to finish all of these. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through. So I might have this one go a different direction. So these two are different because one's going one way and one's going the other. These two are different because one's farther apart and one is closer together. I might do lines for different styles as well. So I've picked my 5 different lines and I've practiced doing them. Now that I've done that, I have to make the sections on my animal. So it's going to end up kind of looking like, as you can see, this rabbit that I did here. They're going to be different sections on the animal. You want to have these sections thick as your finger. So you could use your finger. So I'm just kind of making a mark, making sure my finger, and I'm just going to go straight across. You could do your finger every time, or you can just kind of draw, but you need these spaces to be nice and big, wide on your animal. So this last section, I might not even need another space. Then I would go to my ears and do the same kind of thing and do this all over my animal. The inside part of the ear, you do not have to fill in. You can just leave those blank. And so I'm just kind of following along, just making the lines go across here. So I'm going to keep doing that on mine. Here, the lines are going to come kind of follow the pattern of this muzzle. So I can only kind of do 2 sections here. I'm going to finish this up and we'll get to it. Now that I've finished doing all that, I haven't done anything in the background, I am going to use these from my paper to help fill these in. I could use the same lines over and over and over again for each section, or I can make a pattern kind of like I did here. So I did them close, I did 2 straight, then I did the diagonals, 2 straight diagonals. So you can make kind of a pattern with it if you would like. There is no right or wrong, just making sure that we're doing implied texture in each of these sections. And you're not drawing from here down in one line. So I think I'm going to start with this line I did at the very bottom, kind of the ziggy-zaggy wiggly line on this one. So I'd fill that section. Then I move to my next section. And I think I'm going to do a pattern. Something you have to be careful of. If you're using just this regular kind of marker and you are putting your hand on top of it, you can see how mine kind of smeared. That's the good thing about the Sharpie. If you're using Sharpie instead, is the Sharpie's not going to smear or smudge, but you can see how that has gotten on my hand because that's not dry. Something you can do to kind of help that situation is when you're doing your lines, and I'll show you on this next section. So if I'm doing these lines here, I'm going to be really careful not to put my hand on top of that. So I might have to turn my paper and do it a different way so that my hand stays out of the way and it won't actually rub onto my animal. So you got to slow down. You got to kind of look at what you're doing. And if your hand's rubbing over, another trick would be take another paper and put it underneath your hand so that your hand doesn't go on top of that wet marker. Sharpie works really good because it's not going to smear. So I'm going to keep going through and doing all of my sections. I am done. I filled in all of my fox. I even put a little pink on the nose just for something a little different. So now what you're going to be doing is getting a pair of scissors, and we're going to cut our animal out of the background, just like I did with my bunny. So we won't have any paper around the outside.